Hello, and welcome to the Kosh. I'm your host, Timber Smith, and the Kosh is a podcast that spotlights people who have had an association with the Kosh or the surrounding Fox Cities area. Kosh listeners, how are you doing out there? Let me give the report. It is a fabulous morning. That is it. It's not too cold. We actually got a little sunlight. I don't know about you, but I had it with all the dark. We had way too many days of no sun. And you know what? I do believe it does affect your moods, like all sorts of stuff. Like here's the thing. As a podcaster, I listen to other podcasts. And I actually listened to an episode that talked about what happens when you don't get light as a human, as a person, and how it can affect your appetite and your happiness and all of this stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have to do better. I'm gonna have to make sure that when there is light, I am in it. I am not kidding. So that is just something I wanted to put out there to you to think about. Also, if you have the winter blues, there's those. I do have one of those happy lights, as they call them. Do what you got to do and get out of the winter blues. So, gosh, listeners, you know what I'm gonna say. Once again, I don't know how I get so lucky that I get all these amazing guests. This week's guest is going to be fire. I just feel it. You know, once again, certain people walk in the space and you just know. It's just like I get excited because I know the conversation is going to be just impactful. That's the word, impactful. So, you know, without further ado, this week's guest is Mushe Subulwa. Mushe, did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
Hey, that's what, you know what? I've been on a roll. I'm not going to lie. I've been on a roll. I ain't slaughtered nobody's name really bad in a while. I'm getting better. Maybe this is the experience of it all. How are we doing this morning?
We're doing good, brother. We're doing good.
Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Are you ready to jump right in?
I'm ready, my friend.
Okay. Mushe, can you please share a little something about yourself and what is your connection to the Kosh and the surrounding Fox Cities area?
Yes. First of all, greetings to you, Timber Smith, for this wonderful broadcast or podcast. I must confess to you that the episode that you did with Colleen, and you talked a lot about SEPO and what we do, SEPO as an organization.
Yes.
I should as well let you know that episode was listened to my friends in South Africa and also in Zambia, because Colleen spoke a lot about work that we do as SEPO. So I had to share it. Like, you guys, you need to listen to this. Yeah. So like you said, I should introduce myself as well. My name is Mushe Subulwa. I was born and raised on the western part of Zambia called Barotseland. It's a little tiny area in the western part of the country, Zambia. So I grew up there. I think all my formative stages of my life were formed up living in the village. I moved to the cities when I was like 15, 16 or 17-ish. That's the first time I had an encounter of being in the actual city of Lusaka.
It was for soccer?
Lusaka, okay. That's the capital city of Zambia.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So you can imagine a young boy who grew up in a village. All you know is what you see or what you are taught by your parents or your surrounding community. Life was as simple as you can get it. No electricity, no running water, everybody walking barefoot. There was nothing unusual. It was just like joy and happiness. You know, I never, in those early years of my life, understood what poverty is because everybody looked like me. So until when I moved to the city, when I was like 15, 16, that's when I realized, oh my God, I was that kid from the rural area, kid from the village. Yeah.
That is so powerful. Yeah. I wanted to pause on that because that is so powerful. Like, if everyone looks and is living the same, then you're not judging on wealth or socioeconomics. Like, that's so powerful.
Exactly. You know, it's like everybody looks the same. I can tell you those years from my first grade to the 7th grade, I think everybody walked barefoot. There was no shoes, you know, and there was nothing wrong with that. You know, you'd walk in the bushes, or if we had only one street and one road passing through town to the village, you know, so there was nothing unusual during that time. We ate the same. We drank water from the well, you know. In terms of like bathing, swimming, most of the time, like the boys would go to the nearby creek or a stream and swim there. The girls would swim on the other direction, the other area. The side for the girls would be the other side, and then the boys would be the other side. It was fun, you know, as kids growing in that environment. It was every day was, you know, you as a child you looked forward to the sunrise because you know things are happening from morning until evening. Oh, it was awesome growing in the village, and I can tell you when my brother decided, because he was living in the city, he was a professor at the university, and he thought like he should afford me some kind of education, bring me out of the village into the city. I was like worried and curious, like how is the city going to be like to move from the rural area to the city. So yeah, it was overwhelming. And I think when I got to the city, like I said, at 16, 17, I do remember the first time my brother did was not to take me to the shopping mall to buy clothing. No, it was actually get his own pairs of pants and take me to the tailor and you know, like to adjust his normal size pant to make it, you know, fit me, and then got me some pairs of shoes. Yeah, they were very uncomfortable. First few days, you know, just being in the city, and the food for me was terrible because you are now getting introduced to processed food, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, you know, the milk, everything was a little bit different for me compared to what I was used to eat, you know. So that was my life in the city. So I came to the city when I was, you know, 15, 16. So that transition was not that easy because now I'm going to a real classroom now where I'm going to be with kids who are like ahead of me in everything. You know, when I mean everything academically, these are kids who have access to television, you know, maybe even access to world news, you know.
Right.
You know, I'm coming from a place there's no electricity, so all you learn is what you learn when you go to a classroom for those 2-3 hours, then you are done. You know, so now you're coming into a classroom, now you're with these kids who are born and raised in the city, they have access to everything. So it was a constant struggle, even to fit in that, you know, environment, you know. But also learning the language also was also another barrier, because in the rural area I didn't really care much because there's so many local languages surrounding me, which I was comfortable in learning and speaking these other languages. There was English as well, but not as much spoken. But then I moved to the city. That's the other part of the country now. Now I have to adjust to the food. I have to adjust to the language. I have to learn these other new languages to fit in with kids as we play in the neighborhood.
What was the primary language, if I can ask?
On the western part of the country where I come from, we speak a language called Lozi. But really, if you listen to it, really, you would find out it's a language really spoken in South Africa, because my people, when they migrated from South Africa to that part of the country, Zambia, they brought in the language. It's a long history, I can tell you. If you pay attention to Southern African history, you're going to find out about the great King Shaka Zulu. Okay? So King Shaka Zulu, during his time, a lot of people basically, no one was willing to die, because before King Shaka Zulu, conflict was always resolved through talking, conversations. You know, there was no blood, like really bloodshedding. But when King Shaka became king, before he became king, he realized, like, whoa, what kind of war is this? You know, war of talking. No, war is actually, it has to be bloody. So those tribes had to fight the king, King Shaka Zulu, and if they were defeated, they had to migrate up north. We're talking about the southern tip of the continent, but going up now. So they find themselves in these other places. But you have to understand, like, they're already defeated where they're coming from, but they're superior in terms of, like, military power. They have knowledge of military. So as they trek up north, the continent, they keep on crushing these other little tribes, you know, and then they ended up settling on the western part of what is called Zambia today. That's where they settled. So they settled in that part also by crushing the local people there. And once they crushed the local people there, basically they crushed the men. The whole idea was, in order to defeat a people, you have to kill all the men, remain with the women, marry the women, introduce your language. So the language that is spoken on the part where I come from really is South African. So I fit very well in countries like South Africa, Botswana, Swaziland. I can have conversation with people there because the language is similar. And I speak some of those languages too. Yeah.
How many languages do you speak?
I could say I used to speak fluently about 15.
Bruh.
But
that's wild.
yeah, there's a lot.
I can barely do my own well.
You'll be amazed how when you're young, your brain is so, I think it's wired to easily pick these languages.
Right.
I do see, like, even now that I'm older, yes, it's very easy for me to lose some of it. And that's the reason why I listen to a lot of podcasts from home. I watch a lot of movies, you know, to keep me going and so I don't forget.
Right.
Yeah. But in terms of our language capabilities, I think when we are younger, we are really able to grab those languages easily. Yeah. So that's my movement from the village into the city. And then from the city, I think I stayed with my brother, did my high school, did my first part of college. And then when I was not happy with the country of Zambia, I decided to migrate back to South Africa. And I lived in South Africa there for a few years. I was a teacher in a private school. I taught in a private school, and I ended up rising myself to a level of a principal.
Bruh.
In high school. But unfortunately, I think in 2005, my brother dies in Zambia. So I had to come back to the funeral of my brother. And that's how I met my lovely wife, Angela. And from that point, my life changed. You know, instead of remaining in Southern Africa or South Africa working, I migrated to the United States in 2006, which is exactly like 17 years ago now. And so we stayed in Kansas, in Lawrence, Kansas, where she was a PhD student by then. And then when she graduated, our first posting of a job was the Oshkosh. And that's how we get to find ourselves in Oshkosh.
Whoa, that's a trip.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Oshkosh has been my home since 2008 for 15 years, I think. And my connection to Oshkosh began with a wife getting a job here, and also my involvement in this community with this T-shirt I'm wearing called SEPO Zambia, a non-profit organization that we helped found with my wife more than 10 years ago. Yeah, so we do a lot of work here in our city of Oshkosh, and also we do a lot of work back home in Zambia, starting from my rural community. We've been heavily involved for many years there. We are on the ground that side. We are also on the ground here.
I know before I had, this is my first time of actually getting to formally meet you face to face, but I knew about you prior, and I know you've done quite a bit of work with our refugee population also in the region.
Yes.
And how did that come to be? And do you still do that work? Is that still part of what you're doing right now?
Yes, it's part of what I do or what we do with my wife and other friends. The refugee involvement for me came in naturally without even realizing that you are living. I've lived among refugees since I was born. I'll give you a best example of the western part of the country where I come from, Zambia. Barotseland. During the time I was young, when I was a child, there was a lot of conflict among our neighboring countries. So we had conflict in Angola. We had conflict in Mozambique. These are conflicts of independence, the independence struggle. The black people fighting to rid themselves of the colonial British or colonial Portuguese, colonial German. So the first conflicts really were to fight the colonizers. And when those conflicts were resolved, second conflict was how do we govern ourselves as African people? And then that was a problem again. So we had the second conflict of among ourselves on who is going to take leadership. And those conflicts always resulted in bloody wars, people fighting and people dying and people migrating. So the immigrants migrating or running out from these countries, neighboring countries, some of them found out themselves in the part of the country where I come from. And we have the king in my area, basically accepted those people and settled them. And the strategy of the king was he's not going to settle these immigrants in locations where they should stay alone. No. His idea, I think it has worked very well, was to integrate them among the population, among the community. So I guess we became one. But you knew, like, when you left your village here, less than a mile is another village where you have another tribe speaking a different language. So as kids, you play soccer together and you learn that language. You eat their food, you learn their cultures. I mean, ceremonies are always the best for me, to learn other people's ceremonies. And also to question some of the weird ceremonies they were practicing, Oh, yeah.
Fair enough.
Right. Yeah. So, you asked me about the refugee thing. Let me expand on that. So growing among those refugees, yes, they're refugees, right? So I'm growing among them. And then even when I left the city, I left the village, now I'm in the city of Lusaka, growing up there, doing my education, get myself done. And then one thing happened. My sister ends up getting married to a refugee guy from Angola, but that refugee guy lives in the refugee camp, some maybe 2-3 hours away from our rural area. So she moved to live with that gentleman in the refugee camp. Okay, fine. That's my immediate sister. But then later on in 2005, or 4, 5, or 6, I meet my wife Angela. So part of her research for her PhD program was to, I think she looks a lot into these human conflicts, what makes people migrate, Right. So part of her research work was really focused on immigrant population, the refugees. So we spend a lot of time with her in the refugee camps, making interviews of refugees from Rwanda, from the Congo, from the Congo, Zaire, by that time, Angola, trying to understand how they left. Because you may be surprised, like when you are in those refugee camps, what I saw myself doing some of those interviews, you would think like refugee camps are only for people who are running from war, like victims. Sometimes not even victims alone, the perpetrators end up finding themselves in those refugee camps.
Bruh.
Yeah. So interesting. We're dealing with these refugees from Rwanda, those that ran away from the conflict, right? Okay. And then a few years later on, the perpetrators lost, which means the new government is chasing those guys. So where are they going to seek refuge?
Right.
They had to run to a neighboring country for protection. So the neighboring country of Zambia, what does it do? According to UN laws, you have to welcome everybody who's running on who needs protection. So it's the government gives refuge to these killers or these criminals, and they're brought into the same refugee camps where now they do actually meet parents who, because some of the horrible thing that they did was they would tell a mom and dad to kill your own son. So now you'd find the conflict again happens now in the refugee camp. So
right.
we had opportunities so many times to have the conversation with these people and try to understand, like, when you were doing that to this woman, what was in your mind? Trying to get to understand them. So my wife has been in that refugee mindset. I've been in it. I've lived in it. And hey, man, it looks like refugee community I can't escape it. The first time I thought I was done when we moved here, I was like, I'm never going to be in a refugee camp. We're done. We were in Kansas. So there were no refugees where we were. But when we moved to Oshkosh, I think that was the first time, or maybe a year before that, they started bringing refugees here. I think the first one that I remember from the continent, the Sudanese. Yeah, I think the Sudanese. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So I've been really involved with the refugee community, the immigrant community. We still work with them every day, even as far as last night. So it's kind of like it's what we do. Yeah, we advocate for them. You know, you have no idea how difficult it is for people, for someone to be a refugee. You know, these are people who've left their loved home, whatever they knew, behind, looking for a better life.
Right.
Yeah, and when they moved into these refugee camps, you have to understand that I think at a minimum, for somebody to even get a chance to be resettled anywhere, whether it's the United States or Europe, it could take 10 to 15 years. So some people will be born in a refugee camp, will even grow old in a refugee camp, because being resettled somewhere is kind of like a lottery ticket you're picked. Yeah. So when you see these refugees from Afghanistan, from Iraq, from everywhere, when we see them in the city of Oshkosh, for us who know, we do know like what they've gone through to get themselves here. It's like a chance. Others never make it to these places. They are born and die in a refugee camp. So when they come over here, we have sometimes political rhetoric that is not true, that say, oh man, these guys are criminals. Oh my God, the vetting process is that long, you know. Yeah, so that's what we do in short. Yeah, I don't think I can escape being among refugees.
That is powerful. And wow. And yeah. That was okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You ready to jump into the first segment?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. The first segment is called What in the World is Going On With? And that is where you start with the phrase what in the world is going on with, and you tell us what's on your mind. So Mushe.
Yes, what's going on in the world? I think you could help me on this one. Sometimes I sit down and laugh. I hear a lot of things spoken. For example, on a lighter note, the Groundhog Day. I'm sure.
Bruh.
Yeah. My understanding of the Groundhog Day, or the way I've understood it, is that hog comes out.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the date in February. Is it February 3 or what?
We just had it. So I don't know if it's be like February 1st or the last day in January. It's somewhere around in there though. But yeah, he pops his head out, or supposedly.
Yeah.
And then if he sees the shadow, it's a tell. And I actually don't know which one it is. It's like if he sees the shadow, if there's 6 more weeks of winter, or if he doesn't see it, you know, which one it is. I just think it's an odd ritual.
Well, you know, that's the thing that I'm so much sometimes intrigued about it, because aren't we just all human beings? Because we have these things that we kind of believe in. What surprises me a lot, especially my immigration to the United States or in the Western world, is there are certain things the Americans or the Western world look at other people practice or do. It's kind of like so weird, you know? And yet I'm here, I see these things like, oh, yeah, there's a Groundhog Day here. We believe when that hog comes out, it sees its shadow, you know, there's this blah, blah, blah. You know?
Yeah. Okay. That's weird.
It's weird. And then the second thing is the Halloween. You know, the Halloween is more popular. And I've always looked at it like, well, it's almost like the celebration of the dead, like ghosts and all that stuff, right?
Right.
Well, but when you flip the coin, if I take you to my continent, we really believe in that stuff. And we are told, oh, that's witchcraft, you know. So my conclusion to this thing, like, wait a minute. So what we do there is witchcraft. It's bad,
but here you get candy for witchcraft.
candy for witchcraft.
Bruh.
And let me tell you one little funny story that happened last November on Halloween Day. So there's a new lady, a new person from Kenya. She just moved into Appleton here. And so I called her to come to my house to retwist my kids' dreadlocks. I think it was like maybe a day before Halloween. And when we were done, I was driving her, taking her back. This woman has no idea what really Halloween is.
Oh, right.
She has no clue. She's just from Kenya, from Nairobi. So as I'm driving her, there's a house near the pane. And my gosh, that whole front here, they were like caskets, all these things. She freaked out. She was in the car. And she saw that. She was like, oh, what's that? She's freaking out. And I'm like, oh, take your time. It's just Halloween. She's like, is that real? You know why? Because home, we do believe in such thing. If you saw a casket home this morning, let's say you found a casket somewhere, oh my God, people would panic. And when she saw that here, she was like, are people not panicking? I'm like, no. This is the yearly ritual that happens.
It is a ritual.
It's a ritual. Nothing to worry about. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what's happening in my thing, yeah. So on a lighter note, like I said, the Groundhog Day. And the other one is this heavy attack on education, especially in the education of our histories of either black people or conflict,
Facts.
Yeah,
Facts.
I wrestle with it every day. I'm sure you know what's going on in Florida right now, where the government there they are taking staff. Not only are they banning African American studies or burning books to talk about our histories, for me, it really puzzles me because even when I was, like I tell you, I was born and raised in a village and then grew up into the city and went to school, I can tell you I learned and studied a lot about the United States and Europe. I understood the histories of those two continents and then our people. But when I start to think about what's going on in this country where the governments are taking steps to actually ban these things, to ban the histories of black people, I think what happened in Tennessee a week or 2 weeks ago, when it happens, it brings a lot of confusion. Confusion in a sense like people don't understand why these things happen. When George Floyd happened in Minneapolis, there are always other people that cannot understand. And I do understand why they don't understand is because the histories are not taught. I'm so worried about my kids, my sons, what they are learning. How much is our schools, Oshkosh School District, teaching them the history? It's always like sugar-coated. Sometimes it's good to learn it. As painful as it is, it's good.
No, and I think that's it. I think, I can't believe that we are going through the extremes that we're going through to try to erase. And I don't even know if it's truly erasing, but the attempt to have the perception that it's irrelevant or erase these things. We have to own our history,
right? Good,
bad, or indifferent. Because how do you learn from it if you're trying to fake from it?
No,
right. Mm-hmm. My other thing is that I think what really the sad part about this is I just think it's just a divisive tactic.
It is.
Like, I don't think there's a seriousness to it. I don't think they're truly trying to erase the history. I think they're using it as something to mobilize a group of individuals who are scared of the browning of America.
Right.
And so we're going to pretend like we're going to get rid of these things because it's anti-American or whatever the rhetoric they choose to use about it. But it's kind of wild when you think about it. Like, what's wilder to me is that people are buying into it.
It is, yes, because Again, I think maybe I shouldn't use this word. I think a nation that is educated will be much better off than a nation that is kept to be dumb and dumb. Because our kids, if they're not learning, these are the future of tomorrow. They really need to learn the history. I'm talking about white kids, black kids, to learn the histories.
All kids. All kids.
All kids should learn it. Now, if we don't teach our kids, it's the reason why I think when incidents like what happened in Tennessee or in Minneapolis or all over the country happening, even in Oshkosh, there's always a misunderstanding. People would say that racism is over. It can't be over. We need to talk about it. I think it's the responsibility of our leaders who are running these institutions to teach the truth, Yeah, so that's what has been going on in my world this week. Just wondering.
I love those. Those were no doubt what in the world is going on with. I'm feeling that. My what in the world is going on with is what in the world is going on with Chat GPT / artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. Now, let me tell you, I heard the buzz about this and the different things. And so I was like, okay, now artificial intelligence does give me a little pause. I'm a little shaky about it, but I was like, okay, I'm not going to pass up this opportunity. So, the website's out there. I've got a friend, shout out to Michelle, who sent this link to GPT chat, and I tried it out. Right. So I'm going to actually tell you what I did. So this morning, I was like, okay, GPT, I'm just going to call it GPT for short, GPT. Right. What should I do my what in the world topic on? And this was the response from it. And I'm reading it verbatim here. Artificial intelligence. Then it went on to explain it.
Explain it.
Artificial intelligence is one of the fastest growing and most transformative technologies of our time. It has the potential to revolutionize many industries and change the ways that we live and work. In this segment, you can discuss the latest developments in AI, the potential impact on society, the ethical considerations surrounding its use, and more. You can also invite experts in the field to share their thoughts and provide a deeper understanding of the topic. Now, once again, I had already picked this as my what in the world, right. And then I asked it what it should be, and this is what it gave me. Tell me that's not wild.
Bruh.
Like, it gave me so much pause. So, and I was like, whoa. And then, I'm not going to lie, that's not the only thing I asked it. There was something else I asked it, and I'm not even going to talk about it. But the answer it gave me blew me away. It was too good. It was just too good.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, if y'all have not tried GPT chat yet, you need to go out here and realize that this is real. Like, the opportunity of what artificial intelligence right now, it's not, we're not figuring it out. It's here. Right. And what it can do it's amazing, but it's also borderline scary to me.
Exactly.
So I don't know. Have you used it yet?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
But I think that's the future, man.
That's
where we're headed.
Wait, I'm going to give you another one. And this is funny. So we went to a Bucks game, right? And then we started getting contacted by the Bucks through emails, right? And it was this young lady's name. I can't remember the exact name, so I'm just gonna call her Esther. So Esther was sending emails, and there were these nice emails, and was kind of like, hey, just so you know, we know you went to this Bucks game. We got these package deals. Please reach out to us. We can hook you up with a nice little package deal. Get you something nice. Come back and see the Bucks. And these were so nice, and it kept messing with me because I was thinking, I really should go to another Bucks game. And so my friend, and the funny thing is, this was happening to my friend Tarman too. Shout out to Chris Tarman. And then so he called and found out that the person that we were communicating with was artificial intelligence. So Esther was not real this whole time.
Oh my God.
So we were communicating with artificial intelligence this whole time in the back and forth. And I was just like, whoa, that was too.
I mean, it's amazing.
Right. So right now we're moving into a space that these companies, you're never going to know.
Talk about the companies. I work for a company like that.
Oh.
Part of my work, that's what I do. I work with machines. I program machines. Machines do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When I worked in Oshkosh a few years ago, there was a company called Airhead Conveyor Company here by the airport. I was basically building robots. So you build a robot, that's going to be just one unit machine, and the JM Smuckers in Ripon, Wisconsin, the jelly company that makes jelly.
All right.
Basically, once you bring that robot, you put it in there, it will eliminate maybe 20, 30 people's jobs because that machine is going to do it. You know, it's going to pick up all these jars, put in the product, put in the labels, seal it in, lift it up, pack it, So who needs human beings? So we are getting the place where we are basically eliminating ourselves. I don't even know how we're going to survive because that's what we do. The car wash business. I'm sure you've gone to the car washes. Or if you go on Jackson Street, for example, or on Washburn here, a Quick Trip. If you go to a Quick Trip and you go over there, I'm sure back in time, many people used to wash their cars manually with their hands, right? On a Saturday morning, you'd clean your vehicle. But we have become so lazy. So we just want to go in there and, sit in your car for 2-3 minutes, browsing through your cell phone while the machine is doing that. Guess what? I spend a lot of time commanding that machine, programming it to do that work. As much as the comfort that we are enjoying, but there's a danger to it, I think. The future. It may not happen in your lifetime, in my lifetime, but who knows what's coming out there.
I don't know. Technology moves fast.
It is.
It just moves super fast. So I don't know. That just gave me pause.
It is, man.
So, all right. Next segment is word association. This is where I'll say a word and you tell us what comes to mind. I love to start off with what I call the unifying word of us all, which is food. Food.
Yes. When I think about food, I think about my mother, Voma or Ima. We call mom Ima in my language. So food for us is culture. Food is everything. Food is community, or food is place. So when I mean place, I basically mean like wherever you live in the world, what you eat there may not be exactly what the other people on the other side eat.
Right.
It might be weird food, like, oh, why are they eating that food? So I'm bringing my mother's story here in an interesting way. So growing up in the village, again, we're cooking with firewood to cook our meals. And we did the slow cooking, like you're cooking maybe fish or meat, on a fire using wood or sometimes using cow dung, dry cow dung. Because cow dung, when it's dry, it burns so slow. It's kind of like charcoal, but it's a slow burning, but with good heat. So it would cook your meat at a slow rate, but by the end of the day, oh man, it's just like in a crock pot. But what was very interesting with my mom, or just in my community there, is when it's time to eat that food should not smell smoke, because mom would be pissed off. That means you didn't do your good job. You didn't do a good job. You let smoke in our food. Oh man, mother will not be happy, And then fast forward, I moved to the United States, and my wife Angela takes me to Sioux City, Iowa, and Thanksgiving time, and the dad Frank he loves to cook, so he has all these machines outside his his backyard, and I heard he's smoking something, and I was like really shocked,
Yeah,
really shocked, smoking food. So when it was time to eat, that food was like really stinking smoke. And I was like, my mother would not be happy with this.
Bruh.
Right. And wait, I get it because I smoke. I got a smoker. I got multiple smokers. You know, like it's actually it's an art form of cooking for us as far as how you make meat.
Yeah, that's like food is culture. Food is like place, really. So the weird thing about how we looked at it with my mother's context here is, never should you allow smoke to sip through your pan. It would be kind of like you've messed up the food. Mother will not be happy that night, But over time, I realized how good smoked food is because I now ate it here. And then the other food that is so weird to think about it when I got here, crab, for example. Crab, is one of the expensive food here maybe. Or we call it, I think you guys call it, is it caviar or something like that?
Caviar.
Caviar, it's one of the most expensive, I think, stuff when you go in the hotels around here or somewhere. But in short, that's eggs for fish eggs, right?
Right.
Yeah, we used to eat them there. They're not expensive. It's just like it's one of the worst kind of when you are eating. If your mom has maybe found 2 fish, obviously how they used to do it is they'll open up and they find the egg thing there. The better part of the fish will go to the adults first. Now your kids can eat the eggs. It's kind of like the worst part of the
fish.
The fish, that's what you eat. But I come over here, I'm like, oh my God, that's the most expensive food, really? And then the crab themselves, very interesting. Because I come from the place that has a lot of water. So during the fishing time, the fishermen will bring all the fish. Crabs, what other stuff that I see that is very good here? Like it's almost like sea fish, like shells, shrimp, shells. Everything will be like discarded. All that stuff is bad. That's what I knew. It was really bad. No one eats that stuff. My eyes have opened up. That's good stuff here.
Bruh.
It's good stuff.
It's all relative.
It's
right?
all relative, yeah. So food's like really culture, and So when I think about food, sometimes I think about my late mom. Like, it's very interesting, moving into different space and even just the rhetoric behind it, just a conversation that I thought about every time I watch television. Maybe a new report would come in on TV or CBS or something. They're talking about a certain place on the continent. Oh, those people are starving. They're eating wild food. No, they're living on wild fruits. And then I'm looking closely at the television. I'm looking at what are they eating? It's mangoes, actually. Mangoes. Oh, bananas. Because they're wild, really. Sometimes it's so interesting with the rhetoric, Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that's food, my friend.
Cocktail or beer?
Yeah, that one, I have to be a little bit cautious about it because I have seen, but I've lived the experience where in my family is either here in the United States and also back home, how it has affected them in terms of being addicts in the family. But I should tell you, like, I'm not a funda. When I mean a funda, I'm not a fundamentalist, like, I can't drink beer. No, I do take beer or liquor, but with caution. Knowing that I've seen what it has done to my brother. My brother cannot, he cannot function without drinking. It's like he's an alcoholic, But one of the most thing about it, even when I drink beer, when I know, okay, this is the level, I stop. Because I don't want to go through like what my brother has gone through and also other people gone through in my community here or there. And that brings me to this. When you talk about liquor or cocktail or something, brings me to this.
Okay.
This is what I brought you from home.
Oh, wait. Look, Kosh listeners, I want you to know that he pulled out of nowhere. I don't know where he was keeping this. A bag, and there is a...
It's called Amarula.
Oh.
I'm going to tell you a little story about Amarula.
Please do.
So, there's a tree back home in Southern Africa. You find this tree in Zambia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and South Africa. It's a marula tree. So this tree produces these yellow fruits. These yellow fruits, when they are ripe, you notice. We do notice them when time for them to be picked up, because you start seeing elephants and other wild animals trek down to those trees. It's so funny, actually, if you go on YouTube, you'd find elephants shaking the tree so that all those fruits can fall down. And then they'll start eating them. And within a couple of minutes or hour or two, oh my God, they're drunk. Like really drunk, like tipsy. Monkeys falling apart. Anything that eats that stuff, get drunk. So, but as humans, my mom and other adults in communities in South Africa, they pick that fruit and make alcohol out of it. But what I can remember really very well is when they partake this amarula, you can see this screaming.
Yes,
it's an elephant here. You're gonna try it. So, what they do with this, they call it when elders wants to meet, let's say in the evening, to talk about issues about the community, what is affecting the community, they call it an imbizo or indaba, meaning a meeting of worth discussion, and then they would drink this as they're having a conversation. It's really good, my friend. You can have this on the rocks. You can have it on crushed ice. It took me a long time to find this. So the first time I migrated to the United States, I had to bring this from South Africa. And at the airport in Chicago, they asked me, what the hell are you carrying? I was carrying a few bottles of this, and I was also carrying a few bottles of my the soil, the sand. Basically, before I migrated to here, I went to the village and said, Mom, I'm going to the United States. So she helped me. She got a cup and dip on the ground and get me some soil and say, hey, carry this wherever you're going. So I carried this and sand from my village. And Chicago was asking me, what's that? I'm like, oh, this is just sand. Okay, they checked. Okay, it's good. And what's that? There's nothing wrong. It's just liquor. You should try it, man. This is amarula. That's for you, my friend.
Oh, look.
Yes.
There will be a report back, y'all. Kosh listeners know.
Bruh.
And thank you. Thank you so much.
You can find that woodman. Actually,
Can you?
I had to, like I said, I struggled to find it in the United States. So I had to go and force woodman to start importing it.
Oh.
Yeah, so woodman started bringing it. I'm sure festival now should be carrying it in Oshkosh. Possibly.
Change. That's what's up. Change. I love it.
Yeah.
Concert.
Yes, I love concert. But the kind of music that I listen to, for me, it's a little bit strange. I listen to songs of freedom. When I mean songs of freedom, because I was brought up in an era where African countries were fighting for their independence or liberation. And with that in mind, the local song that I listened to on the radio a lot was there's more songs about freedom, how to get out from the bondage. So with concert, I really focused a lot on one gentleman. His name was Lucky Dube from South Africa. He was a reggae artist, and I followed that man to his death. But the concert, I've gone to the daughter's concert here at Armadillo's in Chicago. When she comes, I love to go there. And I also go a lot to the reggae festivals in Red Wing, Minnesota. Every year, I can't miss a weekend of reggae. Other than that, I also listen a lot to a lot of different genres of music on southern continent of Africa. We have what we call it house music. A lot of beats, a lot of beats. So that's what I listen to. Yeah.
I think, Mushe, I'm not gonna lie. You're gonna have to take me. I need to go, especially to this reggae festival you talking to. I look.
That I would do, brother. I would do that. Yeah.
And I need to go. I need to learn.
Yeah, it's a weekend. It's a last weekend normally. Last weekend in July. The last 2 weekends in July are basically reggae weekends. One takes place in Duluth, and the one in Duluth is just one night. It's a Friday or it's a Saturday night, one day. But that one brings all these heavy, big reggae artists from either Jamaica all over the place. So if you know certain names, you definitely find them there. Now, the one in Red Wing is a little bit different. They bring just either a few wild stage one and also other local guys. For example, we have a unit band. I think last year they were invited there. The unit, I think you know the unit band.
Yeah, I know Unity.
Yeah, they were there last year. But I love to go there because it's a place where I feel like when we are all there, everybody's in the mood of, we have fun, we eat, we dance to music,
Yeah. That is so fantastic. Streaming.
Streaming is one of the ways that has kept me in touch with both my communities here in the US and also back home. Thank God, Netflix, Hulu, Prime gives me all that. So I stream a lot of music. Like I say, my day-to-day job involves me driving a lot. So I could be on the road for 3 hours or 4 hours to my next job. For example, I could have a phone call in the morning that I'm going to be doing some work in Viroqua or on Alaska. That's La Crosse.
Right.
So you can imagine from Oshkosh to La Crosse, almost 3 hours. What am I going to do with these 3 hours? So I need to keep up. So I need music. So I'll go to YouTube Music and then stream some of this South African music. Mostly when I do that, kind of makes me keep the language, because the more I stayed here, the more I start to lose my language capabilities. So they help me to do that. But on the TV section, when I am home, like right now, currently on Netflix, I'm watching season 2 of The Kings of Johannesburg. The Kings of Johannesburg is streaming right now. Season 2. It's almost like it's a crime show. If you have time, check it out. It's really good. And also they have, because I've taken my sons back home several times, and when I've taken my kids home, we do a lot of safari. We'll go into the wild and see animals and stuff like that. But I was always doing that, taking them to these places so they can see what is out there. But then I discovered like one of the youngest has like really, found himself to be loving these animal shows. So there are some series right now going on, I think on Hulu. They are called Untamed Zambia. So it's like maybe 12 different episodes about the animal kingdom in Zambia. They're featuring different national parks. What animals are found in this park, what cultures. So that's what we are streaming right now. Yeah.
You got me on that one. Yeah, okay. And now I'm gonna have to look that up. All right, we'll make sure that we're gonna make sure we put some of this in the podcast notes, because you know what, I know some listeners are out there like, I want to know about that. I want to check that out for myself.
Yes, they should. Yeah, tell the listeners to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Shop local.
Wow, shop local. This is where sometimes I could pick a bond with you, an argument with, or you or another person. Here's my belief. Sometimes shop local may not be as great as it could be. With the kind of work that I do, being an advocate, even when we buy local, sometimes we are mindful. Like myself, I'm like really mindful in my support of my dollar to a certain business. So, for example, if it's a business, it's a local business that has, that is, I always see like it puts its money that harms my community, because the only power that I have is the dollar. It's kind of like a vote. You only have one vote. So the only voice that I have is not to support that business. If I know like it marginalizes a certain group of people, yeah. So I would rather even go to a place where it will be not local. So in short, I can say, yeah, we do. I shop local, but sometimes I'm really mindful in doing my own research in certain businesses that we can support and certain businesses that we could not support, because if we know that they're bigots, so I would tell my people, like, I think don't take your money to that business. It's local, yes, it's a local business, but no.
Facts. I Oh my God, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's actually something I used to talk about a lot more in earlier episodes of the Kosh. Like, I have a tough time that some businesses did not treat me or friends or people like myself very well upon entering their establishments.
Right.
Within this community, particularly when I was younger, when I was here, and like I can't give my money to that. Right. You know, I have fallen in love with the Kosh, but I will never give my dollar to mistreatment.
That's the thing. That's about me too. I mean, like, we really, as much as we can support local, like we say, we just have to be mindful which local. Sometimes you could have a business that is not even local. It could be from California, but they have a franchise in your town. But if you know that that business is always on the issues that matter to you, it's okay to put your dollar there.
Yes.
It is okay, because that's the only power you got.
Yes.
You know, for me, I tell my friends or my community, like, well, you know that stuff that you like to eat, they don't like you.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
There's establishment. And look,
Right.
you know, I always assume that if the poor treatment, if you get poor treatment and when they're ready to spend your money, then they didn't want your money anyway.
Exactly.
And so therefore I'm going to do them a favor. I'm not going to give it to them. No.
Yeah.
I'm actually, I'm going through something right now with a place that I have garnered tons of love for, but I'm feeling a little less than optimistic about them and a little disrespected, and I'm just like, the one piece of power, and I always tell my wife this, is that we just don't have to give them our money.
Exactly. That's
You know what I'm saying? Look, it's not. I'm not gonna make us stink about it. Look, I got a philosophy. I've worked in retail a long time. And the one thing I learned is this: the person who says nothing is the most dangerous person.
Exactly.
It's not the person that comes in your establishments and yells and flails and makes a scene. And no, it's the silent one. The silent one is truly going to do something about it, whatever that looks like, whether it's contacting the CEO or a lawsuit or whatever. But that is the person. It's the quiet one that you know that you have disrespected or displeased.
Right.
Will always be the one that will give you the most angst and which will cost you the most in the long run. Just my observation.
That's true, my friend. That is. Yeah.
Diversity.
Diversity, to me, I think of it as oneness. You know, like together. You know, that's how I feel it. Together, or oneness. I'm sure you've seen this, SEPO, our name of the organization that we helped found. Yeah, the name of the organization that we found is, with what we do here as for SEPO, we do it for all of us, for all our communities. So I find diversity in what we do as oneness, in short, yeah.
Community.
Wow, this is very interesting. Within the African community here, within the immigrant community, I find comfort a lot of time because it's where I find myself be happy in what I do for them. But again, at a larger, on the large scale, I feel like doing what I do, going around helping other people, to me that is community for me, and also seeing some members of that particular community come together and do certain things together. That sums it up. That's a community right there.
Facts. All right. I think at this time what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of a commercial break.
Did you know there are children in the Fox Valley in need of hearing aids, but their parents struggle to provide them because of lack of insurance or high copays? I am Juliette Sturkins, audiologist and board member of Here in the Fox Cities, and proud that this small local nonprofit organization has helped fund hearing aids for some 30 kids. Your donation would help more children hear. Visit heareinthefoxcities.org to learn more and to see their smiles. Every child deserves to hear.
All right, we're back. Let me just say once again, for those out there who are interested in doing a commercial, we're learning right now. So, I mean, if you want a commercial, they're free. I'm willing to give it a shot, and let's see what we can do. Also, let me just say, Kosh listeners, that literally this bottle of Amarula is sitting in front of me, and I am fascinated by it.
Bruh.
It's an elephant on top.
It's the elephant on it, and it just I'm reading it, and I'm just like, whoa, okay. Like we're gonna have to try a little. That's what I'm gonna have to say about this. All right. Next segment. The next segment is Kosh Hidden Gems. Mushe, this is your opportunity to tell us about something in the community that you think is a gem, and maybe people don't know everything about it, but you know, what do you got going?
Well, this is almost like tied to local businesses, like we just from talking last segment. Yeah, there are some new businesses in town that people should check out. For example, on if you go on Jackson Street, north of Jackson Street, there is all-in-one African market. It's a grocery store.
Yeah.
So you could find all the food, even different one that you've never tried, being sold in that establishment. And then if you go further, the All African Market actually is opposite Casey's gas station. Casey's on, depending on which direction you're going. Casey's on the other side, and then it's opposite. Then if you go a little bit further, you're going to find the newly opened XiangKhouang Market. It's a Hmong grocery store. I was there last night. It's so interesting. There's one section, there's a grocery store, and then the other section is kind of like a restaurant inside.
Oh.
So, yeah, you could try it there. They've got hot food there. Yeah.
Oh, we got to go.
You got to go there, my friend. But if you are interested in different kinds or different types of rice, they have got everything. I was so surprised. I was standing over there looking at the jasmine rice. They've got rose rice. They've got maybe 10 different flavors of rice right there, you know. So you can try that. And also there is the Mediterranean store on you go on Jackson's. No, not on Jackson Street. I think you go on Murdoch.
Yeah, that's on Murdoch. Yeah.
Murdoch, yeah. That one has been around for the last maybe 2 years or so. It's really good. I go there a lot to support them. But also I love their fresh bread. They bake it right there. And if you are into spice, you would find all the spices from the Middle East, you know, because those guys I think they're from Afghanistan or Iraq, if I'm not really wrong about it. So if you're in spice, please check them out. There's good spice there. And also the Old Bees Hmong store on Jackson Street.
Yes.
Yeah, is it Main Street? I think it's Main
It's
Street.
Main Street.
Main Street.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's now being run by a different family there.
I do believe so, because I knew B's wife. I worked with her, and I think.
Yeah.
Don't quote me, but I think they might have sold.
Yes. Yeah. So people can check out that one as well. And also, there's some other things happening. Like right now in the winter time, I would like to, you know, those who like to do outside activities in the cold or on the ice. Dr. Eric Smutnik Club has a skating ring, I think, on the lake. You know, this is a thing.
For real?
Yeah, I think in the last few years, he's been doing it by the YMCA. I think the city has given him space near. There's that little lake, a fish pond by the lake, where you have like a train track there.
Yeah,
that's where I think they've set up the ring for this season.
Mushe, do you be getting out there on that ice?
No, brother.
Wait, I just want to say that is the correct answer.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you this. This is very interesting. Remember, when I moved to the United States, I moved into Kansas. Okay, Kansas, for me, coming from the continent that the temperatures are like really warm, I did get into Kansas, I think, a few days before Thanksgiving. It was really cold for me. Like that temperature was just unbearable for me, But that was nothing until I came to Oshkosh and I realized, oh my God, this is something else. Wisconsin was just like unbearable. And that first winter time, it was so interesting. We drove to the lake and I saw cars actually. Suddenly that lake that I used to see during summer, because we moved into Oshkosh during summertime. Right. So the lake was good. People were riding their boats there. But then I was so surprised to actually see cars or trucks driving on the lake. I was interested, like, my wife, I'm an African guy. I need to drive there. I tried it once and I've never gone back there because I've questioned myself, like, what happens? What happens if I go down? Can I survive it? So kind of like cautious enough not to go there.
I'm with you. Look, I ain't gonna mess around, and I'm gonna say that I have driven on the ice exactly one time myself, and I'm just gonna go back to the space of I think it's unnatural to an extent. I mean, I understand people who do ice fishing and stuff, and there's no disrespect, and I respect the game, but that game's not for me.
Well, it is. I mean, you gotta also understand how, like, the struggle for me, in a sense that whatever I see is a constant learning for being an immigrant in the United States. In terms of fishing or hunting, I grew up knowing, for example, that when you're gonna go into the lake or the river, you're gonna catch that fish and bring it home and eat it. So the first shock of my life was in Oshkosh. I was by the river, by old Fratello's there. Mm-hmm. I was so excited. I'm gonna go fishing. So I went across the river there with my father-in-law. Got myself a fishing pole and some bait, and then he showed me how to do it because the way we fish home is different here. So he showed me how I should use that fishing pole. And then when he was done, he left me. He told me, I'm going home. I can't sit here wait with you. You can do your fishing. You're okay. So I kept on fishing, hoping to catch the fish. But the neighbors that were fishing next to me, they kept on catching fish and then they were throwing it back. They'll catch a fish and then throw it back. That was the most amazing thing for me. Like, what's wrong with these people? They catch the fish and they're throwing it back. And there I wasn't catching anything yet. But I see this guy is catching fish and throwing it back. Catching fish is throwing it back. That was like a shocker. Then finally I had a chance to catch my own fish. A little tiny fish like this much. And I put in my bucket. And I caught another one and I put in my bucket. Probably had like 3 or 4 of those little fish. And then I think that's enough. Enough for a meal. Because for me, that's enough for a meal. I don't need to catch more that I don't need. Okay? So I bring it home. And my father-in-law is there. He's like, what's that? I'm like, it's fish. And he's like, no, it's so tiny. We can't eat this. I'm like, this is fish. We're going to eat it. He's like telling me, like, no, you're supposed to throw that back in there and wait until you catch the biggest fish. I'm like, where I come from, when you catch fish, you go eat it. You don't throw it back. So that's the weird stuff I'm talking about, like that. And then talking about the ice fishing, yes, on the lake. I know it's sports, recreation now. I've come to understand it like it's a place of conversation. I'm sure people go there and dig a hole on the ice and sit down and have a conversation. But that's not for me, brother. That's not for me. I'll have that conversation home in a warm place, not on the ice,
Bruh.
Facts. Just facts. I learned that lesson. I had a friend, and I can't tell you what country of Africa he was from, but he's somebody I went to UW Oshkosh with, and I went fishing with him.
Right.
And we caught some, we were catfishing, but we caught some sheephead.
Oh.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so I'm taking the sheephead and I'm getting ready to throw the sheephead back. And he goes, what are you doing?
What are you doing with that?
Yeah, why are you doing that? And I was like, well, man, you don't eat sheep. And he was like, no, you eat everything.
Yeah, that's
He,
right.
he corrected that quick. He was like, nope, give me that. You eat everything. I was like, okay. I was like, man, I don't know from what and look, here's the thing. I was young then, so I didn't even know. The only reason I threw it back is because everybody else always told me to throw it back. And he said, nope, not today. And he said, he said it's food. And you know what he said? I said, what are we going to make with it? He said, fish soup. I said, fish soup? Fish soup? Yeah. Okay. I was like, well, here you go. Let's go. Mm-hmm. And so let me tell you what he did. We went back to the dorms.
Right.
Or what? Not to the dorms, but one of the houses right off campus. Mm-hmm. And my man made fish soup. And you know what fish soup was? Good.
It's good.
It was amazing. He put all these vegetables in it,
That's
and
right.
like it was fish soup. And look, I ain't had no fish soup since, but it was fantastic, and I will never forget that lesson because he looked at me like I did the most sacrilegious thing ever. He was like, "What are you doing?
Where's that food?" Hey.
Yeah, man. He's like, not today.
Well, I think for me. I think sport. They call it sport, right? Like it is sport. Like you go hunt, you throw. It's sport. But I don't understand when did it morph to become sport? Because that used to be like a livelihood. I'm sure by the natives or the inhabitants of this place before the Europeans. I think they went in not to play around with food. I do believe so. When they went to the lake, they got whatever they needed and brought home,
and not more.
Exact, not more, not abuse.
Or you shared with your village, your neighbors, or such. You shared with your community.
Yeah, it's like this. If I'm back home right now, the relationship that we have with our animal kingdom is very, very simple and straightforward. For example, you only go hunt that animal when your community really needs it. You don't just go and shoot or kill those either an impala or a zebra for fun. No, you don't. You only go there only when you need it, bring it home with an understanding that nothing will go to waste. Everything is going to be consumed by your community, And that's the reason why for me to see that as sport. I do believe it's because when I see people fishing or hunting, they're not hungry actually. They have food. Because I tell you, I'll never go hunting if I have food. If I go back home right now I can afford it. Why would I want to waste my time go hunting?
Oh my God, this is so the logic on this, man.
Let me tell you another story that happened to me. When I was in the village, we hunted with dogs and bows and arrows and spears. At the village level, that's what I used when I was growing up. Later on, when I grew up in the city, my brother had at least shotguns, I don't know, whatever, hunting rifles. So we went hunting. But also it was for food, and we brought it home. Remember, the hunting back home is different. When you go there, you're guaranteed you're going to find what you're going there for, because animal is plenty. It's plenty animal. If you are targeting to go bring in 3 impalas, you're going to bring them home. That's what hunting is. And you only kill whatever you need and bring it home, and you're done. So I come over here, and my father-in-law, Frank, Papa, I love you. If you're listening, I'm telling this story for the first time because I've never told anybody. So Papa, which is Frank, who is my father-in-law, he's a hunter. So he has a lot of guns, and he has a shooting range. We have a shooting range as a family. So when I'm in Iowa, we go shooting at the range. But this winter, I think that was my first year here in the United States, or second year. He said we're gonna go hunting. But the hunting for me was so weird because we had dress up, really dressed up, covered, keep yourself warm. And there was nothing we found there. It was just sitting out there in the cold, and I'm like, man, this is ridiculous. There was no animal coming. We're there in the wood, there was nothing. And I'm like, I will never hunt again. I will never hunt.
Bruh.
I was freezing to death, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then I questioned myself, but why are we hunting anyway? the house has 2 deep freezers. There's steak in there. There's food. So why are we killing ourselves in the cold, you know?
Oh my God, yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I've never gone hunting again with him, and luckily he has never asked me again to go hunting with him, because obviously I would say no, because we can afford it. So I guess that's a sport, that's a recreation people do. They just go do it for fun. It's not like they really need that. But also, I want to emphasize the relationship we have with animals, because our survival as human beings is always based on killing. You know, our survival, you know, in order to, to push our own living, then we have to kill something. But when you look at it from our own native Africans or Native American, there's that, kind of like even before you do it, you make that animal understand why you're doing it. I need to take your life to feed me and to feed my family. I'm sorry. You praise the gods for what you are doing. And that's why it's hard for me. Like right now, Timber, being in this country for this long, it's hard for me now that I can afford. I don't think I can even kill a cow.
Right.
It's hard because I'll ask myself, like, why am I doing it? There's no reason, So there's always this relationship that I think we have as a country, or as we have passed that now. We are now into sport now, where we can hook up a fish and throw it back. I do believe that fish may not even survive, may die. So why do we do it? Just for the fun of doing it, That's my thing, yeah.
Pause. That's just powerful. Pause. Okay. Next segment. What's the Kosh need?
The Kosh needs, with the work that we do, that we've been involved with, the advocacy work. Over the last 15 years I've been in Oshkosh here, it has always been pushing for better Oshkosh, because I love this city. I love being here and I love this community. It has done so many good things for me and for other people. But there's always these powers that we get to, there are powers protecting the establishment that always they place walls on our faces. So we are constantly pushing those powers. And what I think Oshkosh needs, we need professional DEI coordinator like you, for example. I do remember when we started the DEI thing, we were together, though it was virtually. Mm-hmm. Yes. We do need a DEI person at the city level. We do need a DEI person, a professional DEI person at the county level. We need also another professional DEI person at the area school district, Oshkosh area school district. We also need another professional DEI person at the university. But what I see, and I get disappointed over and over and over, is these institutions, they are not ready. They like the lip service of saying, yes, we are ready to do this. But whenever we give them that task, with that challenge, they are not up to it.
I don't even hear them say they're ready. Not here in particularly in Oshkosh.
Right.
I don't hear them say they're ready.
No.
I hear them say it's needed.
Yes.
There's a difference between need and being prepared for it.
Exactly.
And because there is an understanding like that there's this changing thing happening, right, and that we need to address the change. That's one thing, but saying that we're prepared for the change that is needed is a whole nother
thing. Yeah.
Another thing. And that is we're just, I've said it many times. Oshkosh just changes slow. It's not that it doesn't ever change. It's just change here.
Yeah.
Moves slow, and it's technically hard at times.
It is, and that's a problem. I think with leadership in all these areas that I mentioned before. I have not, I'll continue engage with them, But until when I see one of them who's really committed to this work, right now, I don't see much commitment. Whether it's our elected officials at both government that I've talked about, or those that we've employed, I don't see much, because you can see when time for budgeting comes, where that's the time where money is allocated into these pots.
Budget says what the real agenda
is.
And you can say something, you can put something on the list of things to do, but if there's no budget for it, then it's not really meant to move. The needle's not meant to be moved.
And the other thing that I don't understand, Timber, is our nearby cities, our nearby towns. Bandulak, you are in Appleton right now. Nina, I think, I don't know whether it's just a checkbox or not, but I don't really believe like in a checkbox. I want somebody who can, hold people accountable to this DI work,
I think I'm going to go with, I appreciate what everybody surrounding us is doing. I also appreciate what Oshkosh at least acknowledges and may be on the path to doing in the future. But what I think it scares people sometimes is they think the DEI person's going to come in and scold you and punish you and tell you you're wrong and this and that. And that's not
the job.
That's not the job. That's not the job at all. If most people really understood what I do in my role, is I am a unifier, and I'm really trying to help others build their profiles, whatever that looks like, and do the work they want to do in the community so they feel like they belong in the community.
Exactly.
That's it. It really has nothing to do with the other things. It's actually very much a community elevator profile role, where, because what you don't want to do is create programming where when the person leaves, the program falls apart. But if you build the people in the community, the businesses in the communities, the nonprofits in the communities, and help them get connected to other resources or help find them funders or whatever those things are in their building, that sustains.
That's what we need.
That is exactly what we need. And let me tell you, that is where what I would like to call is great success is happening.
It is
in other regions.
I don't know. Maybe we just need to continue push for it. We shouldn't give up.
I just think we need someone to go in there and help define what it is, because I do think there's just great fear that it's so polarized.
That's the thing,
and it's really not. It just isn't. It isn't that polarized. It is. I just don't think. There's people who are really good at it, and there's people who hold different roles inside of it. And some are what I would call enforcers and people who are accountability people. And those are needed also, but that's not the foundation from which you build from.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the reason why you have the disconnect or the mistrust between the community itself and these institutions that we're talking about. For example, you may have a mistrust between the parents in the community and the Oshkosh area school district. But if they had a person in between, like you are saying, would ease that and make an understanding.
Well, what happens is you're able to translate back and forth.
Exactly.
And that person's able to go into the, let's say, the school space and truly talk to the people. Hopefully the school trusts them, and that's why they put them in the role. And they're able to communicate what the people really want. And then they're able to go back and communicate back to the people and say, I know you want this, but this is what's realistic.
Well, you've been around in this town longer than I am, and I'm sure you've seen how diverse the whole city of Oshkosh or the county has become in the last 15 to 20 years.
30. I've been here 30.
You've been here 30 years, so you've seen
literally
how diverse we've become.
Literally.
Yes. So I'll throw you just like one example. In our school system, for example, right now, how many teachers of color do we have?
I would say, if we have any, and I'm going to assume we might have some, it's not more than one hand.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, I was talking to one African-American teacher who was teaching at Webster Stanley in the whole district that time. And my conversation with her was just like shocking that since we are diverse now, there are so many black and brown kids in our school system. At Webster Stanley at that time, I don't know how many kids of color were in that school.
A lot.
Maybe 20, 30. She was the only person, you know, her shoulders were so, you know, like
Are you sure
overloaded.
are you sure that wasn't the principal at that time?
Maybe she was the principal. I think she left.
Yeah, she did leave. Yes, because my daughter was went to Webster Stanley, and I think she left right either during her first year or prior to her starting.
It was overwhelming. Not only are you a teacher to teach these kids, but again, you are supposed to be their role model. You are the one supposed to know. They're supposed to cry on you with their issues. So,
but here's the sad thing about that. Where do they go to cry? Because they don't have necessarily safe spaces or a team of individuals to process these things with.
Right.
It's not a one-man team.
No, it's not.
It's not a one-man sport.
Yeah, that's the reason why I think us in the advocacy groups, we are going to push the system to do massive hires. You know, like, don't hire one black person, don't hire one Latino, hire 5, 10, you know, at a go. So
at least hire 2. I'm just saying, for real. No, that's actually a thing. And the university is taking on this, if I am correct, don't quote me, is a policy where if they find talent and they find multiple talent, they hire together and just bring them in.
Yeah, bring them
in. And you know, and I think that's super important. I'm not going to say you need you can't transform the system that quickly. No. But what you do want to do is, at least when you find great talent, you do want to retain them. And I have a saying in the work that I do, and I tell this to other organizations all the time. There is a huge difference between being the only and being lonely.
Exactly.
Often we can survive being the only as long as the actual organization makes us feel like we're part of it and that we're valued and there's respect and dignity. But lonely when everybody is basically trying to not necessarily avoid you, but feels like your work doesn't apply to them, so therefore they don't really work with you or ask you how you're doing and stuff. Yeah. No one survives lonely.
No, you can't.
And that is where the turnover happens.
Exactly. You find a staff member comes in within a year, they're out. Yep. And I'm so sorry, like in case of the university, it's like a perfect example. In the last few years, I've seen good, educated, smart people of color leave campus to go to other opportunities. And I've always asked myself this question, or when I have conversations, like, do these people don't have time to check on themselves? Like, what are we doing wrong for that particular person to have left and the other particular person to have left? They should like do an internal check sometime. You know,
I got an opinion on that, and I'm just going to say it. What I think happens is they don't fight for them. Well, and when I mean that, and what I'm trying to say is like there has to be a retention effort made to keep the talent.
Well, that is if they value what you're doing.
I think they value, but I can't explain this. Yeah. But they don't fight to keep that talent.
That's the thing.
When that talent decides because there's going to be people that come, there's going to be suitors, professional suitors that come along and ask and this, that, and another, particularly in this time right now, because it is the thing. Companies realize there is value in diversifying their leadership, their thought processes, their processes, and it takes diverse individuals to create this diverse processes, thought processes, profitability ways forward. And so there's going to be suitors, but most would actually like to stay. But if you put no effort to retain, there's no retention effort there. and you throw your hands in the air and say, okay.
Oh, but also you have to also look at it this way. A perfect example is yourself in a role that you have, and within the next 2-3 years you are doing your job. Let's say you feel that the loneliness at the place of work.
Right.
That tells me like, hey, they don't care about you. You are like a one-man show. You know,
I am a one-man show, but what I will say is this: they have gone above and beyond to make sure that I don't feel lonely. They have gone out of their way.
That's what we need.
And I will be the first to say I'm good. Like I'm super good, and I can't even stress that enough. That the efforts that have been put forward,
right.
I get so much love internally and externally by the greater community of Appleton.
Right.
It is unreal. I can't stress that enough. You have no idea. My cup stays full.
I'm thinking, so you're valuable. What you bring to the table is recognized. It's really recognized in that setup. But in certain areas, like at the university, UW Oshkosh, I think my own observation looking at these brothers and sisters that I've left in the last 3 years, my observation is they don't value what these people bring to the table. Why am I saying so is because these are the people that I've fought with for all these years for changes in the system, in the city. Not only at the university, but even at the city. I've seen how powerful these individuals were. And to me, I feel like maybe these individuals were like a threat to the powers.
I don't know if I would agree with that. What I will say is this. In some cases, those individuals were ready for change because, you know, this is a hard... when there's the opportunity to go other places that might, you know, the community might look a little more like you or stuff like that, sometimes you want to take those. So there's some of that happens. And the other thing, because I will give the university credit that the university has put a lot of people in leadership positions and they're continuing to change and grow. But once again, I go back to when it comes time to retain, they don't necessarily do the best job in going back and saying, we want you to stay. Yeah. Like they'll just let them go.
They don't fight for you.
You don't fight for you. And look, sometimes all it takes literally is to say, we want you to stay.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe it's not about the money.
No.
Maybe it's about, I just want you to say, hey, everybody wants to feel valued.
Right.
And sometimes, you know how that goes, you know, like when you're doing a really, really good job and everything's going right, you fall off the radar because
that's the thing, yeah.
Because you're doing a really good job and it's running right.
Yeah.
Right. People know who's doing it wrong.
Right. That's what happens. 9 out of 10, that's right. We are only noticed when you're doing things wrong.
When things are going wrong, somebody's quick to tell you it's going wrong. So
that happens for me at work, man. I think throughout the year, I'm doing things right. No one talks to me. That the very moment I screw up, oh my God, emails and phone calls.
Wait, 4 people want to talk to you.
Exactly.
Not one.
Not one. Everybody wants to know what I did and why I did it that way. Mm-hmm. But how about other months in the year when I've been doing right? Shh, everybody has been quiet.
Right.
That's a tragedy, right?
Yeah, it's not right. It's not right.
Oh, man.
All right.
Yeah.
We're going to move to the next segment. Next segment is, and if y'all can hear the crumpling in the back, let me just call this out right now. Bosco, the podcast dog, has decided to come in here with a crumple toy. He is wearing a flannel coat. So apparently he's just come from outside and he's decided that he's going to come and do Bosco the podcast disruption on the Kosh. So
yeah,
that is him.
Mm-hmm.
The Naughty/Heroes Corner. That is our next segment. This is your opportunity to celebrate or nominate someone to the Naughty Corner, the Heroes Corner. It doesn't have to be a person. It could be a thing. It could be an organization. It could be whatever you want it to be. So what do you got?
Am I allowed to nominate a few names or no?
Mushe, it's your episode.
It's my show.
It's your episode.
I want.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is how this works.
This is awesome. All right. So, but my wife, Angela, told me, like, no one should be in the Naughty Corner. So I'm going to focus a lot on the heroes of my time here. My time here in Oshkosh and also my time elsewhere. I think I'll start first. One of my best heroes is my wife, Angela Grace Subulwa. She has been my partner when I'm high and when I'm high up, and when I'm down there. She's always been there for me. She's also, she's an advocate like me, so we are always angry together.
Bruh.
Yeah.
She goes hard.
Oh yeah, we go hard. Like when we are in our house, some things are not going right in Oshkosh. We are busy kicking the drawers together. When it's something that affects our community, we cry together and try to figure out a solution to that thing. So she's my number one hero in that when it comes my personal life and also to the work that we do. The other hero that I always appreciate and never forget is Dr. Alicia Johnson. She was a friend of the show. She's also one of those fierce and relentless advocates that I can tell you, like, the world.
Bruh.
You ain't never lied.
Yeah, the world needs people like Alicia Johnson. Wherever you are, Alicia, I love you so much, and keep doing what you do. Aaron Shear. A friend of the show as well. He's one of my heroes. I can put him anywhere. He's an advocate, a fierce advocate when it comes to these issues.
Huge shout out to Aaron.
Yeah, huge shout out. Then my mother-in-law, my mother Cindy Gray and Frank. I could never ask for any other better parent. These two individuals have been the best parent I've ever found. Cindy Gray, that's the mother to my wife Angela. She's a woman who never had interest in traveling international, I'm told. Always scared to travel international. The story that I heard is when Angela was traveling for the first time to Africa, to Tanzania, back in 1997, she was so worried that her daughter might be bitten by snakes, so she had to buy these long boots, when you're going to Africa, there, all those snakes going to bite you. So this is a woman I came to found to be my mother, and very interesting woman. I think being with her every day changed her opinion about what she never knew, and she's open to learning new things. Why do I say she's my hero? Is the first time I convinced her to come with me or follow me to the continent, she did make that travel. And that travel, I've never shared this story with her, but what I observed first time was I picked her on the airport. We were in the city. We stayed in the city for 2-3 days. But during the time we stayed in the city for 2-3 days, I needed to show her something about the slums of the city. Because I was in the city, I came to the city when I was 15, 16. So I used to go to the west part of the city. That's why I played soccer, and so I really needed to take this woman to that part of the city so she can see for herself. And so we went over there to see a friend of mine. And into that part of the town, the slum, you had toilets, sewer pipes, just like they're bursting like sprinklers.
Right.
Poop everywhere, And she is sitting down in the back of the vehicle with me. And we are driving through this narrow, street to go see where a friend of mine. And I saw my mother-in-law. She was basically observing kids playing in that dirty water. And I just kept on quiet and observing her. And I saw tears. She was tearing. She was crying, And then we visited my friend. And then we were done. She couldn't, the tears were just, she was like really touched to what she saw in those slums. Because I don't think there's no such a day you could see that in Oshkosh here or in the US. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it happened somewhere. But what makes her be my hero is after that visit, we went to the village, stayed maybe 1 week in the village. We did a lot of good things and good fun stuff with her. Safaris, we did some wild safari tour. She tested, I'm sure, amarula. Yeah, she did test amarula when we were on the boat cruise on the Zambezi River. And she was so happy. She was seeing things when she took it because this thing is so powerful, But anyway, the truth is when she came back to the US and I came back to the US and she told me that herself and her husband, they have a commitment with their church, their church in Sioux City, Iowa. And their commitment, I think, started when they were younger. And they give money to the church every month. They've been doing this for the last 50 years, who knows, to the church. And then from that moment, she said, after what I saw during that visit, I think I'm going to talk to my parish priest and tell my priest that I'm going to dedicate that money to what I saw back on the continent of Africa through your organization, SEPO Zambia. So she's been like relentlessly, they've never missed any single donation of their money every month. I think it's $200 that they put in towards our effort and what we do back home. Wow. That money that she has done, that's from 2010 up to now. The money keeps on coming every month. And that money has helped our organization, SEPO Zambia, to do a lot of good work for the people in that community, either to educate kids, pay for buy their school supplies, even buy shoes, even food. It's like amazing. She's a hero to me. She's a hero not only to me, but a hero to that community over there. So wherever she is, Cindy Gray, Mother, I love you.
Yes. Yes. All right. Okay. And we have more.
Yeah, there are other heroes we have that I have who are always in my corner. And some of them, like I've mentioned, Aaron Shearer is relentless in the efforts of what we do with Rio Oshkosh. So Rio Oshkosh basically is a group of advocates who've decided we're going to do this work. Aaron Shearer is really good at that. Lakeisha Hayes, I think, a friend of the show too.
Friend of the show.
Yes. I love her to death. She's relentlessly in this work. These two individuals that are committed to this work, the DEI work. Another person that I would always remember to mention her name is Molly Smiltnick. She was, I think, the PTO president for Emmeline Cook. We have always found ourselves in the same place to advocate, sometimes not even coordinating. For example, there was a day I was going to the Oshkosh area school district to talk and to protest against the ID. Basically the district decided to buy these ID kind of machines that before you get into any building, you need to push in your driver's license. Then it reads, it captures all your information, and then that's when they let you go. So I was going over there to talk about that kind of government kind of like intrusion. It does not sit well with certain members of the community that does not trust the government. And moreover, I had questions like, when you are grabbing that information from me, who else is out there to see my information? Because you're getting it from DMV, So I had all these questions, and Molly is always found in these spaces as well to advocate. So like, my God, this woman's always in the right corner. So Molly Smiltnick is always she's my hero. The husband, Dr. Eric Smiltnick, the same. Finally, another person that I always, when you talk about recovery issues, is Jen Skolaski. I think she's a friend of the show too.
Yes, she is. I refer to her as Sko Sassy.
Sko Sassy. Oh, yes.
Yeah, she is fabulous.
Yes, another fierce advocate. Oshkosh needs people like those people I've mentioned, and we have plenty of them.
Yes, that's and your list should speak to this community.
Yes,
that there's a lot of people out here. There's a lot of people who aren't from the marginalized communities. There's a lot of people who but see and are advocating and know that there is good to be done that benefits us all, every child, every community member. When we can all create these spaces and pathways and and create ways to equity.
Exactly.
We all win.
Yep.
And there's a lot of wonderful advocates, and I've been lucky enough to have some of the best here on the Kosh. I'm not going to lie. So, okay. Well, we're about at that time, that all-important time, and let me just go ahead and get us ready here. Every time it makes me happy. It is time for the topic of the week. And Mushe, what is our topic of the week?
Yeah, our topic of the week today, I wanted to speak about Ubuntu. To our listeners there who may not know what Ubuntu means, Ubuntu is a Bantu or Southern African word that simply says, I am who I am today because of us. Or you are who you are because of us or we. So I'm sure our listeners have been listening a lot. We're talking about a lot of community stuff on this segment, right? So Ubuntu is community. So where I come from, we believe that your successes are not yours alone. All those successes are there because of others. Every time I have a chance to explain this in simpler ways, because maybe in English it may be difficult to find the right kind of word to explain it, or in another language, but basically, when I have a chance to be on campus with students, I tell them wherever I traveled in America or anywhere, I found one thing, that Americans believe in individualism. Like, I've done this, I'm a hard worker, I've achieved this, I've had these good grades, I'm like the smartest guy on the planet. But I always tell them, remind my audiences, like, under Ubuntu is your successes are because of others. And I try to remind them is your parents. It's if you go to church, it could be your pastor at church, it could be the reverend at church. It could be the guiding counselors at school. There are so many people involved in your life to get you to being a successful person. So that's a guiding principle for me as a child growing up in the village. I saw community come together in these in certain times to do things together. There'll always be those few individuals who always feel like their success are by themselves. They're always there, but we always not challenge them, but just to remind them, like, we are who we are because of others. And coming to that work, it is a guiding principle for me with my organization, SEPO Zambia, is because of this work that I do makes me realize that I find Ubuntu in it. Now, I want to give you several examples where it was so difficult for me when I migrated to the United States. The first time I migrated to the United States in Kansas, when I arrived in Lawrence, Kansas, I was right away, maybe the second day, realized I couldn't see Ubuntu in the people, in the white people, or just in the community where I was. It was in an apartment. I was so surprised that my opposite door neighbor could not even say hello to me, to a stranger, which was like, I was so like, wait a minute, these people cannot even greet the person they don't know. And I thought, like, maybe it was just like one individual. But the more I walked around in that neighborhood, nobody really wanted to talk to me. So I started feeling that loneliness, like, oh my God, this is lonely for me. No one is talking to me. And then I started reminding myself what I was taught by the U.S. Embassy in the U.S., coming to the U.S. The U.S. Embassy gives you kind of like a 5-10 minutes tutorial on how the American culture is, individualism, that thing. So I kind of realized, like, whoa, nobody has time for me, so I'm going to be an individual here. So I tell you, the first 1 month was so difficult until I found Ubuntu in the African Students Association at the University of Kansas. There were a few individuals like Enrique, Yusufu, and Muhajiri, may so rest in peace. These are the Africans that I started having this conversation with them because they were there before me. Started telling me, like, no, the cultures are different. So they brought me in, I found myself with them, and Ubuntu was with them. 2 years later, when I moved to Oshkosh, it was so hard. We got to Oshkosh here. It was very difficult, almost similar. It was rough in the beginning to get to down here, because I'll give an example, like where I come from, where I grew up under that Ubuntu umbrella is like you see a new person moving into a house, the next door house. You just quickly go there and say, hey, who are we? You greet them and start helping them unload their stuff, get to know them, like hardcore. Let's say you moved in last night and you're a smoker, you smoke. You'd walk on the street. On the corner, you find boys or girls or whatever, they're smoking on the corner. They'll give you a cigarette, or you share that cigarette with 3 or 5 other people while having a conversation, knowing who you are. That's what I know. So when I didn't see that in Kansas and I didn't see in here, and I knew like I'm going to be really in trouble, and I think I must get out of this place as soon as I can. And slowly, I was so lucky I met Dr. Kisubi, the late Dr. Kisubi.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. He's an old man. He sat me down, having this conversation with him. Like, hey, you have to understand the cultures are different. And I met Dr. Mamadou Koulibaly. He's still a professor at university. Slowly I started realizing, oh, okay. Conversations going on. I started finding that Ubuntu in these people. And slowly I realized, like, the more I built this community, the more I grow in this community, I'm building all these, these channels of communication. Then I realized, oh my God, then Americans have just been lying to themselves. Ubuntu it's a shared thing. We all have it for common good. The whole conversation I've had with you, mentioning all these people, Jen Skolarsky, Aaron Shearer, Molly Smirtnik, there's one thing that we share, Ubuntu. We're always working towards the better of our community. And that's what always reminds me, like when I'm here, I just feel like I'm home. There's these similarities, Another thing that I saw in Ubuntu, again, I think I'll share with you, that even in little kids, actually the little kids are able to admit it, that they have Ubuntu in them before they are corrupted by the adults, by telling them, you have to work hard, this is your effort. Here's how I prove that Ubuntu is there in our little kids. One of the days I went to Emmeline Cook, I was giving some lecture conversations, different classrooms. And I was talking to these children about my upbringing in a village where we had only 2 classrooms at a school where I started grade 1, and how we didn't have chair to sit on. We sat on the floor, and we never had books. We were writing on the ground using your fingers. I was having conversation with these little elementary kids, just having nice conversation with these little kids. And what I was surprised that I always remember is kids are so curious. They're raising their hands, asking me questions, open questions like, why were you not having the desk like the way we are? Why are we not having like a flat screen in a class like this? So I was explaining to them, like, I lived during the time when those things were not there, but there was that. During that time, yes, there's poverty, but I never understood that there was poverty. But then they asked me, like, is your school still the same? And I said, yes, the school is still the same, even as of today in 2018. It's still the same way it was 1982 when I was going to that place. Those little kids inspired me, and they said, yeah, we can build them a school. The little kids of Oshkosh said we can build them a school. And Timber, I'm going to show you the classroom that those kids and the whole entire community will end up building.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Legit.
Yeah. So they started a penny, called it penny wars. I don't know how you call them.
Yeah, there's penny wars.
Right.
All right.
So these little kids, they're bringing quarters to school every week, so that we could they could raise enough of that money. Actually, so the kids, the PT, Molly Smirtnik, the PTO, Dr. Eric Smirtnik, they were asking me these questions, like, because I was telling them, like, me going to school, it was all about walking. Maybe you're walking 3 miles one way. And you get into that school, you only learn for like an hour, then you're walking 3 miles back home, whatever it is. Okay? So Dr. Eric Smutnik, in order to fundraise with the kids in Oshkosh, that's why he's also a hero. He has this thing called Walk with the Dog. So I think maybe every Wednesday in a week, he would actually walk to school, walk the kids in the neighborhood to school. As they are walking, he's giving these educational lectures. But each kid that walked with Dr. Eric to school that week, if it's 5, he's going to donate $5 per kid. And that money will be put in the same coin jar at school. And then we'll take that money and send it to the village so that the elders and the parents will buy pockets of cement or bags of cement and then mold bricks. And we ended up having this product here.
That is amazing. I'm going to make sure that I scan this picture and
I'll
this.
leave this with you. And also, you could also see it on our website.
Okay.
If you go to SEPO Zambia website.
We'll put a link on there.
And our Facebook page. A lot of community work. And under that Ubuntu, I can tell you that people have no idea how communities work. Communities communicate. Oshkosh communicating with western part of Zambia in such a big way. Not only were we able to build this under SEPO with little kids at Emily and Cook, we've gone further doing things with the other people in the community. Like, for example, the downtown Rotary Club.
Right.
Yeah, they gave us money to buy the actual desks for this place. So you can see how community works.
Yes.
So the desks for the teachers and for the kids were provided by the downtown Rotary Club. And then we did other things like, I think, Oshkosh United, the soccer club. They've been so nice that we share. They give us jersey. If they buy so many for the season and they have extras, they give it to SEPO, and SEPO Zambia would take them, donate home so that students there are able to use it. So there's this community thing that actually is just a distance, but yeah, we're able to do things. So that's what Ubuntu means. In short, we are who we are, not by ourselves, but by our others,
Well, I got a question.
Yeah.
So how does more people in this community get involved? Because, people are going to be listening and they're going to say, I want in,
Yes.
I want to help too. I want Ubuntu.
So under that Ubuntu thing, actually, everybody is welcome. I want whoever is interested in joining us, joining SEPO Zambia with what we do with Ubuntu is right now, because we know there's so many things going on in our city that we know they're not going right. But we also know like getting things right is incremental, slowly, So we've been looking around at what is really burning out there. And one of the things that we noticed as we do the advocacy work, we've noticed our black and brown kids doing the worst in every direction that you look at. So they are the ones that are getting the lower grades. Okay? And then we are looking at it, they are the ones getting the higher punishment rates in school. The detentions or suspensions, because numbers don't lie, numbers show themselves the last 3 years, 5 years is our students, they're doing the worst in the thing. So we have had first meeting under Rio Oshkosh, and under Rio Oshkosh, this meeting we had it at a food court downtown here, where we had parents or people who are interested coming in to have the conversation and help figure out how we can help the district.
Is Real Oshkosh becoming a nonprofit? Are they becoming their own entity?
Right now, we're still running it under SEPO Zambia because SEPO Zambia is a nonprofit, registered fully with the federal and the state.
Right.
But maybe eventually we may move toward that direction. But for now, we're still running it under SEPO.
Okay.
So, but we also have to understand that we have had all these backyard conversations in the last few years. We have brought in parents of black and brown kids in our backyards and have conversation to understand what goes on in their families with their children at school, So it's all these collective efforts where parents come in, talk about their experiences, and also we find out like, okay, what can we do to engage the government or the district? It's how we get to that position. So we had these several backyard meetings before the pandemic, and I can tell you we even had I think 3 election cycles when we had school district elections where we had candidates like, those that are on the right now and those that have lost, like come in and we ask them questions. What can you do looking at these numbers when we get you elected? We show them that's not like a secret. So we've had those televised or through Zoom. But last month we had our first meeting at a food court where we invited parents to come in and share. Right. We're going to have another one on the 19th of February, again at the food court. I think it's between 3 to 5 in a community room at a food court. So anybody who is interested in advocacy, anyone who loves this city, that's like we love it.
February 19th at the food co-op.
At the food co-op, come in 3 to 5. Come in, let's strategize a game plan that is going to help our leaders at the district, to show our leaders the direction that we think they can help our children, because again, we say under Ubuntu again is we are there for our children to succeed, So listeners, please do come February 19th. Yeah.
Okay. Any last words?
Last
on
words
on this topic.
On this topic. On this topic, I think I also like to thank those parents of Black and brown students that have been like really, involved in these efforts for the last few years. I could mention some of them's names, but it's really good because them coming out has really helped us, see the direction. Because one of the things that you have to understand with the immigrant population or Black and brown people here, there's already a stereotype, like we are others.
Facts.
Yeah, we are others, Sometimes I do wonder, like even you, Mr. Smith, you've been around here for like 30 years, but there are certain times that you are looked at as other, as the
no, absolutely.
Right.
Like there's never a time that is I am not blind or ignorant. I've been immersed in it for so long. It's my normal.
Yes, a normal thing.
So does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Like for others who are coming to the region and they still feel it and it feels a certain way. Like I get it. But I've been here so long that I just operate in this space. Right. It's my normal.
Well, that's
and it's not other people's normal.
Right. That's one of the saddest part about the racism that goes on every day. For a person like me, I live it and I see it every day. And it was so interesting that from my own experiences, really, I lived in a predominantly black place. Okay, when I was in Zambia, we had white people, but the majority was people who look like me. In South Africa, I had a little bit of racism. I saw it a little bit, but a full-blown scale, my experience has been here in Oshkosh, and I do struggle with that in a way, like how can I teach? I do not have an experience like you, Mr. Smith, in terms of you explaining it to your kids and what's going on. For me, it's harder because I grew up in a place where I never had that experience. So I don't have a childhood experience.
That frame of reference is not the same.
It's not the same. So when my black boys are going in trouble every day at school, I look at it like, this qualifies to be in trouble, but this does not qualify you to be in trouble. This qualifies to be a kid's thing. You should do these things as a kid. You should be misbehave. There's things that are within the parameters of a child that is developing.
It's called learning. It's learning curve.
Exactly.
You're going to do a few things as a kid because you're a kid.
Right, yes. But what I also know is my kids, the black kids, they are not given a room to be kids. They are, they are judged at a higher standard.
Facts.
You know, it's like they are looked at as if they are adults. You know, whatever they do is magnified. Like, oh, your son has done that. But I'm like, but it's a kid. That's what the kid's supposed to do. You know, and it's mind-boggling. But now, how do I explain this to my black sons? It's so hard because I don't have that reference that I'm talking about. But a father like you have that reference, you know. So I struggle with that. But also the other part that is so complicated with the line of work that we do at SEPO Zambia or also at Rio Oshkosh is when it comes to the new immigrants. Sometimes I feel like crying when I'm trying to work with them, how they get treated with the system. The system sometimes even pushes them to the corner, like they are like have no idea on how to proceed. Give you a simple example. Right now, I'm working with one of the ladies, one woman in Oshkosh. The system says they overpaid her too much food stamp, and they want her to pay back the system almost like $23,000 or $24,000, and the woman cannot even speak English. And I am there now to be the go between her and find the right lawyers who can represent her, and to get her, to get her off this $23,000. Because I see she's a single woman. In short, she has like maybe 4 or 5 kids. So she makes like maybe $12 an hour. So she gets food stamp. So she was in trouble, and I know she's not cheating the system, but the letters that I see coming from the system is like they're putting her in a bucket, like she's cheating the system. And I'm looking at it like, this is a woman who can cheat the system.
She can't wait. She can't understand the system.
She can't even understand the system. She can't even speak English. And oh my God. So I've been working with this woman for the last maybe 2 months with the community of advocates, the Lakisha. I'm asking questions to the professionals that the Lakisha has. Hey, how do I go about this?
Right.
Rakisha, you're a judge, or Mike or Russ, you are also a lawyer. How do I help this community? So they guide me to where I need to go. And guess what? I got the results.
That, what you were talking about, is DEI work.
DEI work, right there.
And that's not scary.
It's not scary.
And no one said anybody was wrong or racist. Mm-hmm. All it was helping people navigate.
Right. That's what we do. So, and there's a lot of work to do, but we just have to continue doing it. So February 19th, 3 to 5, it's a community conversation. People can come in. The reason why we do this conversation a lot is we do know people of color. The institutions have never been welcome. They are not welcoming. In a sense, like how many people of color are able to freely walk into City Hall? How many people of color are freely able to walk into the Chancellor's office at UW Oshkosh? How many people of color are easily free to walk into that institution of Oshkosh Area School District or the county? No, because those are intimidating places. Just intimidating. You're like, you are right there, So we bring a space to them where we can have them, where they can come in and talk. Elected officials, they have always come to this conference. Some of those interested elected officials who are truly committed to this work, they come.
I like to believe there's a large number of them. And it's just sometimes you just need to bridge in between.
Right. And that's why we need the DEI.
Right. So there's all there is there's this like communicating the in between, like that person's familiar with the elected officials, so they can go to them and say, hey, I want you to see this, or I'm going to bring this person to you, and I'm going to help facilitate this conversation.
Right.
And that's all you need. Sometimes you just need somebody to help the navigation of these things, because things get lost in translation.
That is true.
And communication is too important. I can't stress that enough. Yeah. You know what? Woo! Powerful. Oh, yeah. Just powerful. All right. I'm going to start winding us up then. Thank you. Thank you, Kosh listeners, for giving us your mind and spending this time with us. I hope you're learning as much as I'm learning. For every person that comes and sits in these seats and we have these conversations, I learn so much. Just learn so much about people and about community and about caring and making difference and having impact. So I appreciate you. If you're spending time with us, you're one of those people. So thank you for spending that time with us. Once again, if you've got anything you want to share with us, anything you want to, if you want to be on the show, if you want to tell us how we're doing, I love the feedback. Please reach out to us at askthekosh@gmail.com. Once again, that is askthekosh@gmail.com. We love feedback. Also, please don't hesitate. Reach out to us. We have a voicemail line, 920-385-9298. Once again, 920-385-9298. If you want to leave a voicemail, we'll play it. Whatever it is, birthday wishes, celebration of whatever, we are all about it. We are community forward and focused. And the last thing that I want to ask the Kosh listeners to do for me, do me several favors. Share these episodes. Our community needs to hear these voices. I can't stress that enough. Share these episodes. Please go out there and give us a ranking. Or give us some feedback online officially, through comments and whatnot. Those make a huge difference in helping the profile of the show of the Kosh. So those are my minor asks for right now. And now we will truly roll into what is my favorite time of the show. It is shout out time. All right, Mushe.
Oh, shout out time. Like you said in the beginning, this is my show, so I can make a shout out to so many people.
You right? Shout out. Hey, look, we got time. Right. Wait, because we don't put a time on these episodes. Look, they go for as long as they go. So let's go.
Right. I would like to say a shout out first to my community back home on the Barotseland. That's Zambia. Thank you for raising me to be a child that sees responsibility and takes responsibility seriously in both my communities here, where I am right now in Oshkosh, and also right there back home. So a shout out to everybody out there. I cannot mention all the names, but my sister, my mother, Grace, you've always been there since I was a little boy. You took me to school and, made me who I am today. And the whole community for being with me there, for standing for me and for teaching me to do the right things. Yeah, thank you so much. And then to my community here in Oshkosh, I may not able to mention everybody's name, but thank you for all those that have worked with me and those that continue to work with me in this job. Shout out to Grace Subulwa for being a great wife and a supporter. And, like I said, we get angry together in the kitchen when we talk about these issues. Of course, my neighbor, Aaron Shearer, how can I forget him? And he's not only a neighbor and a friend, but Aaron Shearer has this group that he has put together of people, an open group of people once a month, where we meet and socialize and, discuss how we can make this place a better place, Oshkosh, because we all understand that this is the place that we love and we want it to be better. So a shout out to the group, everybody on the group. Of course, my other family back in Sioux City, Iowa, Cindy Gray, Frank, you've been the best parent, like I said before. And then if I've forgotten you, just know that I love you. Alicia Johnson, I always appreciate your wisdom in so many things that you've done for the city of Oshkosh. We miss you. And come back. And I think that's it, really.
Okay. I like it. You came with the shout outs. Yeah.
I love it, my friend.
Okay, I'm gonna roll through mine real quick. I want to give a shout out to the 395 Ordnance Company because they're deploying today. I get the opportunity now to go when our local reserve and National Guard units are deploying. I get if they're in our regions, sometimes we get invited, and I get invited. And let me just say, love, Godspeed, be safe, come home. Just that simple. And if you don't know, you need to know. Shout out to every individual who has anything to do with a Black History Month, anything this month. There is an abundance of programming around here, so don't act like you don't know, because if you don't know, you ain't looking hard enough, because there is a lot of different entities putting on Black History Month stuff in the region. And when I say the region, I am talking about from Fond du Lac through Green Bay. There's a lot happening, and I am proud of this region for embracing this. And doing a really good job. I want to send a very special shout out to the 2 Black History Month events that I know that went on at Appleton East and Appleton West. Both fabulous, both amazing. And to those people who are those workers, staff members working with that youth and helping them and guiding them to be leaders, thank you. Thank you for doing what you do. I want to send a shout out to the Badges and Boots basketball game. I got to go attend a basketball game between the Appleton Police Department and Nina's Fire Department. And let me just say this. Everybody took 15 minutes to get warmed up, but once they was warmed up, it became a real game. So thank you for our first responders for being out there and making it fun, and just kudos. We need you. Continue to do great work. And some of y'all actually got a little game. I can't play it all, so don't think that's a challenge, because I won't get out there. I'm too old now. I'm trying to keep all knees, hips, and shoulders in place at this point in my life. Just being real. And I would like to send a really big shout out to the new DINA students at UW Oshkosh. Welcome to the Kosh. I know great things are ahead. Please don't hesitate to reach out if we can be helpful. All right. Now,
I forgot one shout out.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead. Let's do
came
it.
to my mind right now is a shout out to the racial equity and advocacy and leadership in Oshkosh. That's the real Oshkosh. The whole group. I'm giving a shout out to them all. That's a community of advocates and leaders pushing for substantive changes in Oshkosh to increase racial equity. With our initial focus right now is on our students in the schools, in our schools. So I'm giving a shout out to you guys on the group. Please continue what we do, and do not be tired.
Facts. All right. Now, for the last part of the show, you got options. So you can either, option A, give us just some parting words of wisdom. Option B, tell us, what would your self today tell your 12-year-old self? Or option C, both.
I think I'll try to do both.
All right, I like it. Let's go. Let's go.
The 12-year-old me. The 12-year-old me would have been. I wouldn't know that time when I was 12 years old. I wouldn't have even realized, even thought for a second that I would find myself on big stage. So I'll tell myself, my 12-year-old Mushe, look, there is a bright future ahead. You're going to play a big part in people's lives. So be smart, be respectful. Because when I was a kid, I was a punk as well. When I was in high school a little bit, I was, sometimes I was naughty, but I would tell that little kid that, hey, be smart, be focused, and there's a future that you have a part to play in people's lives. Now, the other part, the wisdom part, so this stuff is hard sometimes. The work we do is hard. Sometimes it's exhausting, demoralizing, and sometimes frustrating. Advocacy work, that's what it does. And over the years, doing this work, I've seen people burn out, completely exhausted and leave, And so I do understand, because you'd think you've moved 5 forward, and then suddenly you're taking 7 steps backward. So it's exhausting, but I always encourage those that want places like here, like everywhere else, to be better, to continue working towards that. It's hard, it's hurtful, but that's what it is. And I would close it by saying, a luta continua, meaning the struggle will always continue. It's our time now to do whatever we can during this time. Wherever we're going to stop, our kids going to pick it up from there.
Facts. Oh my God. So what'd you think?
That's good, my friend.
Yes.
Not bad.
Oh, whew. We went hard. The Kosh.